What's going on, guys? We are back. Episode number 31 at the Mandalay Bay. 2-5 no limit. Mostly 2-5-10. The button straddle is on, I'd say, a greater percentage of the time. Let's jump right into the hands, shall we? Very first hand, we're in the small blind with pocket sixes. Button straddle is on, so I'm first to act. I open for 30. Action folds around to the hijack, who 3-bets to 100. I imagine he's at the top of his range to be 3-betting an early position raiser. I make the call, looking to spike a set here. Heads up to a flop, queen, queen, ace. Not what we're looking for, but I check and he checks back. Turn brings the 3 of clubs. I debate firing to fold out jacks or kings, but seems a little ambitious right off the start here. He could also be setting a trap with a monster, so I check, and now he bets 75. I make the laydown and ask how big the hand is. He's nice enough to show for the vlog all of the queens in the deck. Quads for the first hand. If you remember last vlog, that's how it started as well. I opened, made a full house, and lost to quads, so right back where we started. Nice hand, sir. Next, we have 4-6 suited in the hijack. $10 button straddles on, small blind and big blind fold. Same player who just had the quads makes it 35. Action folds to me. Every so often, I'm going to mix in some 3-bets here. I make it 90 to take control and isolate. Action folds over to the original raiser who makes the call. We go heads up to a flop, jack 9-5 with 2 hearts, 1 club, so not much going here, but some miracle backdoor stuff. But when he checks to me, I keep with the story, make a down bet of 65 just as I would with my strong hands. He asks how much and eventually makes the laydown, so feels nice to get a little bluff through. Next we pick up king, queen in the cutoff. Under the gun player limps, action folds to me and I raise to 20. I get called by the small blind and under the gun limper. We go 3 ways to a nice flop, queen, 6, deuce with 2 hearts, so we have top pair and the king of hearts. Small blind checks, and the middle opponent bets 45. Rare to see players just lead into the pre-flop raiser, and when they do, it's typically weak. So I decide to flat here in position. Small blind makes the call as well. 3 ways to a blank, deuce of clubs on the turn, pairing the board. Small blind checks. Next player continues firing with a bet of 110 this time. I feel like I'm ahead of this opponent, but a little concerned about the small blind, but maybe he could just have a flush draw. I make the call, and the small blind calls as well. We have a pretty big pot building now, so let's see a river. It's a bad one, bringing in the flush with the 8 of hearts. Pretty much done with it here. With 3 players, you'd think someone would have a flush draw. Small blind checks. Next player takes some time, decides to check. Our hand is pretty strong, so no sense in really turning it into a bluff here. We're just going to be happy if it's good, so I check, and small blind turns over a good hand, ace queen. Middle player was just donk leading with whatever and mucks, so we're going to lose that one. Nice hand, sir. Of course, after the hand, you go over in your head how you could have won that pot. I was thinking, man, I could have made a big bet on the river and represented a flush, but with 2 other players in, I think that's just a bit spewy. I think that would have been a mistake, so I'm glad I just checked it back, because I'm probably going to get called by ace queen there in the small blind, or maybe one of them was setting a trap, so moving on. Next we have 8-9 of hearts in middle position. $10 button straddle is on. Small blind limps, he's the same limper from last hand. Action folds to me, I raise to 35. Button straddle defends and the small blind limper calls. We go 3 ways to a flop, 7-7 queen with 2 hearts. Small blind leads for 20. Same player who did it last hand. Again, this is typically just a weak bet that I'm going to raise such a huge percentage of the time regardless of what I have, so I make it 75 this time. Button goes into the tank for a bit, folds, and small blind folds right away. Next we have 8-9 suited again, this time in diamonds. We're in the cutoff. Action folds to me. I raise to 15. We only get called by the big blind. We go heads up to a flop, 9-8 deuce rainbow. Flop top 2 pair. He checks to me and I bet 15. He makes the call. We get a blank 4 on the turn. He checks to me and I size up this time with a bet of 50 for value and to deny equity from straight draws. He pretty quickly makes the call, and the river brings an ace of diamonds. He checks it to me. I make a small bet of 50, targeting all the 1 pair hands, but seems like he just missed a straight draw and quickly makes the laydown. Next we have 6-8 suited from under the gun. Game has been pretty tight tonight, and when that's the case, I'm going to be opening up the range. I make it 15. Next player folds. Then the next player puts in a 3-bet to 45. Action folds back to me. We're both deep, 1500 plus. I make the call. We go heads up to a flop, queen, queen, 8, rainbow. So we have a pair of 8s and queens with a monster 6 kicker. I check it over to him. He continuation bets with a bet of 65. Action's back on us. So I think we may have the best hand at the moment, but I think this hand is a good candidate to start turning into a bluff rather than just call. So I put in a check raise to 175 with plans on barreling turn and river, just as I would with ace queen or pocket eights. I'd expect him to call here sometimes with nines or better, but I also think this particular opponent can fold over pairs in this situation because he must consider the bet he's going to face on the turn, and he won't want to stack off with just two pair on a board like this. So after some thought in the tank, he does eventually make the laydown. Not sure if we were ahead or not. He could have just as easily had ace king, but we don't know on that one. Next, we pick up pocket kings in the big blind. Under the gun player limps. Next player makes it 15. Action folds around to us, and I put in a 3-bet to $55. Under the gun limper folds, and original raiser makes the call. We go heads up to a flop that's not really great. 8, 9, 10 with two hearts. Sometimes I'll lead small here, but decide to just check since this board is all over a 3-bet calling range. My opponent makes a bet of $80. Well, we can't fold an overpair and backdoor flush draw just yet, so I make the call, and we get a blank on the turn with the 5 of spades. I check, and my opponent keeps the pressure on with a bet of 175. Okay, what are the most plausible hands in his range that we can beat? Jacks, queens, sevens, although I think pocket sevens is likely to check and take a free river. 10 jack, ace queen of hearts, ace jack of hearts. On the flip side, we're losing to so many hands, all the sets on the flop, all the 9, 10, and jack queen suited. That can very well be in a 3-bet calling range in position, so I don't know. I don't know how often I should just be folding on the turn here given the line I've taken. My kings are under-repped, so I just make the call and we'll evaluate the river action. And the river brings a 6 of diamonds, so 7 completes a straight now, but the flush draw misses. After some deliberation on sizing, he elects to jam it all in for about a pot-sized bet of 650. So, I don't know. I really don't think he's turning jacks or queens into a bluff, so what are the bluffs? Well, there aren't many, especially since I have the king of hearts, which eliminates a lot of heart combinations he could have, like ace king of hearts, king queen, king jack of hearts, so I think for a bit, try to talk myself into a call, but eventually make what really is an easy laydown. If he's bluffing, I mean, sometimes you're going to have to be bluffed. If he has like 10 jack, that's a good bluff candidate. There are just so many more combinations of hands that beat me than potential bluffs, so you guys know how it is in the moment though. But my man is nice enough to show for the vlog, beautiful top set of 10s, so losing only $300 with kings isn't so bad. Nicely played, sir. I like your all in on the river there. He was evaluating if a 7 was in my range, and he decided it wasn't, so looked like a nice bluff all in. Good hand. To this next hand that I'm not very proud of, we have ace-jack suited in the big blind. Under the gun player opens for 25. He only has about 350 behind. Middle position player calls. This is probably a fold. Heads up against an under the gun raiser, but we're suited and one other opponent in, so I just make the call for 20 more. Usually it's an easy hand to get away from for me, so we go 3-way action to a flop. Jack 8 deuce with 2 spades, 1 club. I check, original raiser checks, and the last opponent bets 30. I make the call, and here comes the check raise from the pre-flop aggressor who makes it $100. Did not want to see that. Next player folds and action's back on us. This is why ace jack is just a fold against early aggression. You hit a jack, you're not sure if you're good. You hit an ace, you're not sure if you're good. His bluffs are what? Overs with a flush draw, in which case we're not in really great shape. Or he has queens or kings, and we're not in great shape. So we're getting a decent price, though, to call $70 more to see if we can improve with an ace-jack or club on the turn. So I do make the call, and we get no help. 6 of hearts on the turn. I check, and he bets $200, leaving himself about $50 behind. My gut's just telling me to let it go because just like the last hand with the kings, he just doesn't have that many bluffs here. An overpair makes the most sense given the line he's taken, his early 5x open. But you know, sometimes when you're not running great, you just have a threshold of how many big hands you're going to fold. I mean, this isn't that terrible after all. Top pair, top kicker for another $250. So I just get it in. And of course, we get the bad news that he has pocket kings. River's no help, brings another spade. And we lose another one. A little annoyed with that one with myself. I feel like I lost some discipline there, but after all, I did have top pair, top kicker. It's not that terrible of a spot to beat myself up, so let's keep going. Next, we have pocket sixes in the small blind. Under the gun player limps. Next player raises to 20. Button calls, I call, and limper folds. We go 3 ways to a flop of queen 10-6. Finally, we flopped a set. I think I was 0 for like my last 30 pairs. You guys didn't see from the last session, but 2 spades on the flop. We finally nail a set. I check, original razor checks, and button bets 30. It's a wet board, and we have another player in the middle, so I don't want to just call and let either draw for a good price. I make it $105 to play. Next player folds. Button tanks for a bit, asks if I'm on a flush draw. That's exactly what we're hoping he thinks, but he eventually makes a good laydown, and we take down a pot, which feels good. Next, it's my button straddle, and I have King 3 suited in clubs. Small blind, big blind, under the gun player's limp. I check the option. We go 4 ways to a flop. Ace, Jack, 9 with 2 clubs. We've got the nut flush draw. All 3 players check it to me. I'm usually betting nut flush draw here, but a little suspicious of 3 early limpers on the straddled board and a check on this flop, so I just take, I like to check and take a free one. Turn brings a 10 of hearts, so we pick up a gutter with our flush draw. Small blind checks. Now the big blind wants to bet 20. Next player calls 20. I call, and the small blind calls, which was unexpected. We nail the straight on the river, but it's with the worst queen, the queen of hearts, that brings in that backdoor flush. Small blind checks. Big blind thinks for a bit, throws out about a pot-sized bet of 125. Pretty strong with 3 players behind. It's just an atrocious board. There's 2 straights, now there's a flush. Next player folds. He's probably supposed to get paid off here, but this time my discipline's back. I make the laydown pretty quickly, show my man Zach on my right. Another fold I have to make. Next player folds as well. I said the queen of clubs would have been a much better card for me. He asked if I folded a straight. I said yes. And my man is nice enough again, same guy with the pocket tens, to show for the vlog ace deuce of hearts for the ace high flush. So we're happy to lose the absolute minimum there of 30 bucks on that hand. And you guys know how that feels. Losing the minimum feels like making some money. To the last hand of the evening, we have ace deuce of clubs in the big blind. Under the gun player limps. Middle position makes it 20. Cutoff calls. I call, and limper calls. We go 4 ways to a flop. Jack, Jack 5 with 2 clubs. We flop another nut flush draw. I check, and action checks all the way through. Turn brings a 9 of hearts, putting 2 flush draws on the board now. I decide to take the lead here because it looks quite strong, leading into 3 players. It's exactly how I would play trip jacks, so I bet 55 as a semi-bluff. The next 2 players fold, which is great because they would be the most likely opponents to hold a jack. The player in the cutoff makes the call. Very unlikely he has a jack and check the flop in position, so it's some sort of draw or 1-pair hand. Looking for some help on the river, but we brick another flush draw, and it's a 10 of spades on the river. I got to keep up with the story. I bet 125, and luckily he folds immediately. That's going to wrap this session up, guys. The game got short shortly after that, so we were in for 2,600, out for 1,821. We lose 779 on the day. Catch you at the end of the video. All right, guys, that's it for episode number 31. Hope you enjoyed the hands. If you did, hit that like and subscribe. Leave some comments below. Always appreciate that. Pretty happy overall with the way I played, at least, except that ace-jack of clubs. That was an annoying hand. I was a little upset with myself on that one. I knew I was behind. Still put the money in anyway, but kind of let the number get to me. Said, it's only 300 bucks, whatever. But that's a spot that I think I can fold there. And you got to stay disciplined whenever you're being tested emotionally, which this game is going to do all the time. Yeah, as always, here are the stats after every vlog. Updated stats for No Limit Hold'em. On a bit of a downswing right now. Had a couple brutal sessions. Just some of those sessions where you get 30 pocket pairs, never flop a set, all for raises and 3 bets, and then you're notched whenever you do have a hand. Just running like that at the moment. So hopefully that's going to change the next session, and hopefully we can run deep in one of these tournaments. We're going to play the Venetian today, if you're watching this now, on Sunday, the 1.5 million guarantee, and then we got a few more tournaments left. And I think the next vlog I'll probably do from World Series of Poker, maybe. I don't know if I'm up there. Maybe even Venetian. I don't know. Depends on how this tournament goes. So, as always, appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the videos. Stay to the end for a cool trick shot. Best of luck during the World Series or wherever you're at. And we'll catch you on the next vlog. Have a good one.